You can get the ribs at Walmart, anywhere. Any good store has them. They're most of the time listed as country backbone and country style ribs, and these are pork, and they're these particular ones from Walmart are shoulder. And so you want to, when you are going to tenderize them, you want to put them flat, and I like to line them up so that when we cook for the band camp, we do 250 of them, so you can see where you might lose your place on that. So I like to line them up so that we know exactly which ones we have done. And as I'm going along and I run out of tenderizer or whatever, then I just leave the empty right there and go get my other and come back, and that way I don't lose my place. Okay, you want to go in this order. You want to go Adolph's meat tenderizer, then Lowry's garlic salt, and then regular salt on one side only. And you want a generous portion of the Adolph's. Just sprinkle it on there till it's nice and covered all the way over the rib. Okay, the second ingredient is the Lowry's garlic salt. It's flaky and it has little pieces of parsley in it, so I like it the best of all the garlic salts. And again, a generous portion, and then regular table salt, and on one side only. If you use the unseasoned tenderizer, you need to use table salt on one side. If you use the seasoned tenderizer, you don't need the table salt, but you can't control the salt that way. So now we get back to the forking all the way through. And just get as vigorous with it as you can, and you can see pork is nice and tender and it goes all the way through. You need a cutting board underneath so you don't mess up the wife's cabinet or husband or any cabinet. And if you want to really get violent with it, you can buy one of these professional tenderizers, and it's spring loaded so that when you jam it through, then it pushes back, and it works very well. You have to keep your thumb out of the way. I like the fork better because the fork goes all the way through the meat better, you can see. But this is okay. Now, once we get one side, we simply flip and do the same thing on the other side minus the table salt. Okay, so tenderizer first, in order. Same generous proportion that we did before. Whew, I'm getting hungry already. And then the Lowry's garlic salt. I don't think you can buy these big commercial sizes in Walmart, but that doesn't matter at all. They do come in this size, and that's okay. You just have to use a little more of it, so. All right, now we're going to do the forking again. You can hear that fork going all the way through, and that just makes that tenderizer and garlic salt flavor all the way through the meat. Yummy for your tummy. You can't feel this, but this rib is a little tougher than the others, so I'm going to give it a good going over. And there you have it. When you stack the ribs onto the cooker, these are nice and thick, so stack them edge wise, and you don't want them to touch anywhere. They can be within about a quarter of an inch of each other, just so the smoke can come up through, but you can't have them touching. Anywhere they touch, they won't be done. Line them up on the grill and cook away. right? When you put them on the grill, you want to put them edge-wise if they'll stand up, and most of the time they will. And don't let them touch. Just like that, and I haven't got those close enough, but since I'm not cooking any more than this tonight, it'll be all right. Notice that I've tried to keep these from touching, and I have stacked these a little bit wide, but this is all I'm going to cook today, so there's plenty of room in between, and that's so the smoke can circulate. Don't let them touch anywhere. All right, we've had this hickory soaking about 5 hours, and chunks, not chips, big chunks, so that they'll burn longer and they don't tend to catch on fire so easily. And then I really just put a lot in there and pile them right up, and they will immediately start to smoke, and that's exactly what we want. We are cooking! You ought to check the ribs about every 15 minutes, especially if you're cooking as hot as we're cooking these. So I'm ready to check them now. Ooh, they're looking really, really good. Notice how red they are. That one, you notice, is touching there. We can't have that, so we'll move that like that. And they're cooking great. Starting to cook away from the bone a little bit. About another 35-40 minutes, we ought to be ready. Well, it's been at least 15 minutes since we checked those, and oh, they're starting to look good. Notice how red, can you see how red that is? If I hold it up there, yeah, I think you can. And that's what you want. You want it red on the outside and white, look at that. Can you see that? White on the inside. Red on the outside from the hickory smoke, and white on the inside. Those are just about ready to whip your mama away from the table. Something we found out, or I found out by accident, was that if you steam the ribs after you cook them, it actually makes them a little more tender still. And one of the most asked questions is, how do you get those ribs so tender? Well, it's not really my fault. I just put them in these ice boxes, and after they're in there for a while, they do tend to get more tender. And also, if you happen not to get them completely done, then they will cook some more after you put them in the ice box. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to do that. It can be any kind of a sealed container. But I just measure out, when I'm using an ice box, I just measure out how much foil I need. And then I go from the flat side first. And the aluminum foil, of course, there's no secret to that. That's just sanitary. That's just, you can scrub. I always wipe these out, scrub them up a little bit, the styrofoam. But they're still styrofoam, and they came from, you don't know where they've been. So it's better to go ahead and line them with this sanitized aluminum foil. I cooked for a lot of years, and to my knowledge, nobody ever got sick. So it's a tried and true blue method. Then you just trim it off. If you want to just be really professional, you can take scissors and give it a little snip. Okay, then we go end to end. Same thing. Try not to tear the aluminum foil, because another thing this does is hold grease, and if you get tears and things in it, it won't hold that as well. It will keep moisture in if you don't have any breaks in it.
are ready for some ribs in there. Now, one more thing we got to do. Guess what? Oh, you don't need to line the lid. Yes, you do. The lid is just as important to hold in heat and to be sanitary as the other part, so we're going to line the lid too. Now just do it just like that. Besides that, there's just something about aluminum foil, we used to call it tin foil, that everybody just loves. It crinkles, it folds, it's nice and shiny, it's clean, and voila, you are ready to pack some ribs in there and do some eating. We're going to do one final test on these ribs, and they are ready. We're going to do one final test on them though, that I always do on all the ribs. That is the taste test. Now I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's red on the outside and white on the inside. Should be ready to go.
Yo! The formula!
Oh, they're ready to go. So we're going to cut those in half. Look at that. What perfect. Make sure they're white in the middle. The other thing you can look for is that they're cooked away from the bone, which they are, like right there. They would look a little well done, but they're not. Perfect. Always in the bottom of your ice box, before you put the meat in there, put about 5 or 6 paper towels, and that'll soak up the grease. Get down to those last ribs, and it can look a little ugly unless you have those paper towels in there. These ribs are so big, I'm going to half them. They'll still be good. Boneless. Voila. You know, the reason that you cook ribs and beans and things is so that you can get together. And the best vehicle that I've ever found for getting together and for building relationships and for doing something that's just great is music. And started, you know, when I was 10 years old. I hope to be involved when I'm 100. Got a little ways to go yet, but you and I will sit down when I'm 100 and we'll share one of these ribs. We'll talk about music. The ribs are the vehicle to get us together, but then the music is the important thing in our life, and that's what we'll talk about.